and welcome into season number 17 of Citadel GrayLine. Yes, we've been doing this since way back in 2008, and we are glad to have you back here on this exciting program for this new season of Bulldog football. John Rawl is my name, and I've got Andrew Miller of the Charleston Post and Courier and Thomas Scruggs standing by. And we want to hear from you here each and every week. We'll be up and going with season 17 from now until the conclusion of Citadel football. And you can be part of our show. You can text us if you'd like anytime. And that's not just when we do the show, but during the week you're welcome to text us. We've got a knob knowledge question that we'll be asking in just a few, but you can text us at 843-779-8496. 843-779-8496 is how you can get in touch with us each and every week here on the program. And want to let you know that as we have in years past, we have been brought to you by IPS Packaging and Automation, and now they're a presenting sponsor of this program. And we want to let you know that not only is IPS Packaging and Automation joining us here for the new season of Citadel GrayLine, we also have a fellow sponsor on the program, and that's Hood Construction, and we're going to be telling you more about that as we go forward on the program. So we've got some great inside knowledge on that. But let's kick things off, welcoming in to the program Andrew Miller of the Charleston Post and Courier. And Andrew, we hope you've had a good off season, and we welcome you back into Citadel GrayLine.
Yeah, it was a really good summer. It seems like each summer goes quicker and quicker the more and more I've been in this business. I wake up one day, it's Memorial Day, and the next day it seems like it's the Southern Conference football kickoff meeting. So, yeah, had a great summer. Actually, one of my first cruise this summer to Bermuda. Not just first cruise. We've been to Bermuda before, but yeah, had a great time this summer, and really excited about the upcoming football season.
Well, we're excited to have you back on here, and you can fill us in as the Dogs get ready for the new season against Charleston Southern this weekend. Also with us back is Mr. Co-host now, Thomas Scruggs from the class of 1995. Hopefully you've had a good off-season, Thomas. You know, since we were last here, the world was shaken by a near assassination. We've got a change in the presidential race, wars raging in Ukraine and in the Middle East, but most people are concerned about Citadel football and are they going to win 12 games this year?
Hey, John, glad to be back here in 2024 for Citadel GrayLine. I was also very glad a few months ago to get to visit you in the Citadel GrayLine headquarters there about 8 hours away.
Yes, and we're still trying to recover from that visit. So are you excited about the new season?
Very excited. One win's an improvement, right? When you go 0-11, there's not much to talk about. So, excited to see this version of Coach Drayton's team.
Well, we are glad to have you aboard again, as we've got not only Thomas with us here this year, we also have Andrew Miller. We're going to be covering all kinds of goodies here as we get you ready for the start of the season. And, don't let me forget, fellas, that at some point today I need your projection of how things are going to go. I need, basically, Andrew, from you, I need your projection of wins and losses for the season. Is that asking too much?
No, I don't. I think the schedule lines up pretty good for the Citadel, at least early on. If they can get a win or two here, I think in these first 3 games, I think that is going to let them build some momentum. I think they'll win 2 out of the first 3. And I think that will give the guys some confidence. It's a totally different, as far as the attitude and the excitement and the energy when I go out into practices. It's a total 180 from last year. There's lots of optimism. There's lots of confidence. There's lots of excitement. There's lots of energy. Of course, though, they haven't played a single game yet. What has Mike Tyson said? Everybody has a plan to get hit in the mouth, and we'll have to see what happens come Saturday up at Buccaneer Field in North Charleston against Charleston Southern. But I think that the team is going to be a lot. I think they're going to be a good bit better than they were last year. I think from a personnel standpoint, from a system standpoint, a schematic standpoint, They're going to be better than they were a year ago. Now, does that equal more wins? I think it will, because obviously they didn't win a single game last year, and I think they're going to win. If I had to go out on a limb and bet, I would say they win 4 games.
So you're going ahead and giving us your projection, 4
Yeah.
wins this year,
4
and
wins.
8.
Yep, that is what I think will happen. Yes, this season.
All right. Well, I'm going to find out what 4 wins you're projecting the Dogs to win as we go forward here. And Thomas, I might just have to ask your opinion too. Me being the journalist that I am, I'm not allowed to weigh in on my projection for the year. But I digress. Hey, want to let you know that we are powered in part by IPS Packaging and Automation, and they are a great upstate-based company that's been a big sponsor of this program for a long time. And want to let you know that IPS and Packaging and Automation is certainly a company that is family-owned, and they also operate this powerhouse. It's been a titan in the packaging industry since 1976. Looking over 4 decades of work, they stand tall as a leader in packaging products, automation equipment, and a top-notch service that they also provide. IPS Packaging and Automation plays a crucial role in the packaging processes of countless businesses and manufacturing facilities all over the entire country. And you know, you may not know this, a fun fact for Bulldog fans, IPS Packaging and Automation has been a sponsor of Citadel Athletics for the last decade and beyond. So discover what they can do for you. Dive into the website at ipack.com and ring them up at 800-277-7007. That's 800-277-7007. IPS Packaging and Automation, a proud supporter of Citadel Athletics. And fellas, if you'll look above us here, we got the nice IPS Packaging and Automation packaging Citadel GrayLine each week. This program packaged by IPS Packaging and Automation. So, Thomas, how did I do on the graphics? You think I might have a career outside of the show and maybe design?
I like the Citadel tartan look there in the background, John. Well done.
Well, thank you. Also, we want to let everybody know we're looking for a sponsor for this little fun element each week. We've got Dime Knowledge back, and if your business would like to sponsor that, then text us at 843-779-8496. We'd love to welcome you aboard as another sponsor of our program. Knob Knowledge, this is your chance to win something here on the program, and we have a fun time doing this each and every week that we have Knob Knowledge. So again, help us out, sponsor it, help us out and give us some questions, or rather some answers. And Thomas, mute your mic. I don't want you blurting this thing out. We're playing the Charleston Southern Buccaneers this week, and so our Knob Knowledge question is, tell me what year the first Citadel Charleston Southern game was and the final score. The initial game and the final score of Dogs versus UCLA. That's University of Charleston at Ladson almost. And I can pick on them because I took a lot of classes there at the old Baptist College. And so I took a few more at the Citadel, in case you're wondering. But yes, check it out and text us your answer, 843-779-8496, and we will reward you with our Knob Knowledge Winner of the Week here on Citadel GrayLine. And gosh, it seems like just yesterday these two teams got up and going in that initial game, but it actually has been a while. We want to know the answer. Let us know. Also, Andrew, big story this week. Not only did the Dogs and Bucks get together on the gridiron for this contest, but there is something on the line for the first time ever for this in-city rivalry.
Yeah, the Low Country Boyle Trophy. They have unveiled it. I have a picture of it on my phone, which I probably should I'm going to put up online here as the week goes on. But yeah, so they're playing for the Low Country Boyle Trophy. Add a little bit of spice, if you were, to the rivalry, which I think was really good, especially when Jamie Chadwell was here. I thought that he was quite the instigator. So I actually loved some of his antics. I know Citadel people probably didn't because he won a lot of games, but I thought he added a little spice, a little extra oomph to the rivalry between these two schools.
Yeah, it was a hotly contested thing back almost 10 years ago, especially when in 2015 the Dogs played them in the regular season and lost, and then in the playoff just after the Citadel defeated the Gamecocks and the Chanticleers, they couldn't beat Charleston Southern in the FCS playoffs. But luckily, Chadwell's not there. But there is
Yeah.
a remnant of that era at Charleston Southern, as the Bucks do have a guy who was offensive coordinator, I believe, during that time as head coach.
Yeah. Gabe Garandini, Garandini. I can't remember. I'm terrible with pronunciations of people's name, but he was the offensive coordinator under Jamie Chadwell. First year as the head coach. I think this is his third stint actually at Charleston Southern as an assistant or a head coach. So yeah, he was the OC on offensive coordinator under Jamie Chadwell. Does a great job up there. It'll be interesting to see who starts at quarterback for the Bucks come this weekend. They got a couple of candidates: Zoltan Osborne, who's a local kid here in Charleston out of Fort Dorchester High School, and Rob McCoy, who is a transfer quarterback from Sacred Heart. Garandina did not say this week who was going to be a starter. It's going to be one of those two. Osborne was the starter last year, got injured in October and then missed the rest of the season, but he's back now at 100%, taking full contact. But Rob McCoy, coming out of the spring practice, was the starter. So it'll be interesting to see who takes the first snap on Saturday up at Buckfield.
And a similarity between the former Crimson Tide offensive lineman, now that's head coach of CSU. This is his second year at the helm of CSU, and that, of course, is where we find Maurice Drayton at his alma mater in year number 2. And so putting our focus more on the Citadel blue and white, Andrew, you've been able to kind of keep up with this team through the spring. You've seen what they've done. You're already projecting 4 wins this year. You're seeing improvements all over the ball with this team?
Yeah, I mean, it starts at quarterback. It starts with Jonathan Bennett, the former Somerville High School star, played at Liberty University, went on the road while he was at Liberty University, beat BYU, beat Arkansas at Arkansas, which is a huge win for a group of 5 or group of 4, whatever they're calling themselves now in those divisions.
Well, sometimes FCS schools go and beat Arkansas and
Right.
Fayetteville too. Just saying.
Exactly, but still a big accomplishment for any Power 5 school to go in an SEC program and win on their home field. Again, it starts with him. The 2 scrimmages that I saw him play in, a noticeable difference, efficiency of picking up third downs. He ran for one. The first scrimmage especially, he was really effective. Threw 3 or 4 passes for first downs on third down, ran for a couple more. I think we're going to see a vast improvement there. And what also makes the Citadel a little bit more dangerous this year as opposed to last year is that Justin Fletcher, their backup quarterback, he's had a great offseason and a great preseason camp here. And he's a guy that a lot of people thought were going to transfer, including me. I thought he would just, as soon as they brought Jonathan Bennett in, he would hit the eject button and get out of here, but he didn't. He hung in there, and there's not that much of a drop off when he comes in there when he scrimmages. At least again, the first 2 scrimmages that I've seen, really good passer, is able to make plays with his feet and extend plays just like Jonathan does. But again, Jonathan Bennett, he's 22. He looks like he's 32. He is, as Maurice Drayton says, he is a grown man, and he conducts himself in that manner. And I think the Citadel fans are going to be really excited to see him go out there and make plays on Saturday.
All right, so Bennett now firmly entrenched as the starting QB. What if he needs help? What if he goes down or having a bad day? What are the backup options at QB?
Well, again, Dustin Fletcher, he's there. I've been really impressed with the way that he has played during the offseason, during the scrimmages, and then the work that he's done in the offseason. You remember he was a guy that started for the Citadel last year and then got knocked out with a concussion in the South Carolina State game. There's not going to be much of a drop-off with him. And then there's a freshman, a kid named Kobe Tompkins. Sorry, I had to look him up. The Citadel has not released a depth chart. They're supposed to do it later today. He is a freshman out of Florida, left-handed kid. There is just something about him, a swagger, if you want to call that, a confidence about him. He just looks the part. He's a true freshman, but the times that he got on the field, again in the scrimmages that I saw, he's a guy who, as soon as he, gets a little bit more, gets some playing time, gets some experience, gets a little bit more confidence. Although he's got a lot of confidence, it sure seems like to me just being around him. He's another guy that's going to be able to make plays for the Bulldogs, and that's one of the things that Maurice has just talked about, especially on defense and on the defensive line. He was talking about the depth that they've been able to create since last season. When the number 2 defensive line comes in, there's not much of a drop off, and to have 8-9 guys that can come in, especially on your defensive line, and play and contribute and be significant, have a significant impact on the game. I mean, that's huge at the FCS level, because one of the biggest issues for the FCS teams is that they don't have a lot of depth. But I know that Coach Drayton is much more pleased with the depth that he's created all around the football team. He feels like the backup guys are really coming along, and they're really kind of pushing the starters for playing time. So that's a good situation to be in.
Yes, it indeed is. Hey, want to let y'all know that you can be part of our program, not just by texting us, and we have that text number up on the screen from time to time, 843-779-8496. But also, you are welcome if you're watching this on Facebook Live, which is where we debut. We're also debuting for the first time ever live on YouTube when we do this show each and every Wednesday at 12 noon Eastern is when we should be rolling this thing out. But if you miss us live, we're available on demand on both Facebook or on YouTube. Check it out. Citadel GrayLine is our Facebook page. Just search for it there, and then you can find Citadel GrayLine on the YouTube channel of CRM Sports is where that's located. But glad to be back. We got a lot of people that actually follow both of those sites. We're over 1,000 followers now on our Facebook page, rather, and on our YouTube channel. We're doing pretty well on that too. So. Order of the Palmetto coming your way, Thomas Scruggs. But we've got on our Facebook page, what I was going to get at is you can leave us a live comment, and we'll be watching that throughout the show if you've got a question. Hayes Lothian, you're our number 1 interactor, if you will, and I'm looking for something from you while we're doing the show this year a lot. But anybody is welcome to chime in, comment, question. We got Andrew here. He is the only Bulldog beat writer in the world, at least that I'm aware of. And so we want to get you the questions that you might have or commentary about not just the Citadel athletic teams, but anything to do with El Cid. We welcome that here. So again, we still have our knob knowledge question. What was the first year and the result of the first game played between the Citadel and Charleston Southern? All right, Andrew, big question for me. If you don't mind, big questions for me. We seen with the Drayton era to be getting away from the old option thing, obviously. How much of a role does the backfield play now going forward in Drayton year 2?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think Cooper Wallace is obviously going to be the starter. He's a guy who does a great job coming out of the backfield, catching the football. I don't think he is big enough to be a quote-unquote 3-down back, but certainly his speed, his elusiveness, his hands make him a legitimate weapon for the Citadel in the backfield. There are a couple other guys that have looked good in the preseason. One guy who's kind of jumped out at me is Corey Ibrahim. Has had a couple of really good scrimmages, was able to make some plays in the backfield, some chunk plays, as they like to call them. I think he had a 40-yard touchdown run in the first scrimmage where he looked really good. They got a couple other guys back there. I'm sorry. I'm just looking at the depth chart. Looking at the roster, make sure I'm not missing anybody.
Just ask Thomas. He's got that thing memorized.
Johnny Crawford III. He's been held out a little bit here. Had some nicks and bruises here, but he's a guy that they're counting on. I understand that he's had a really good preseason camp as well. And then they got this freshman, this Wilcher guy out of Florida. I'm sorry, who a couple of times against the third string defense, which is basically walk-ons and freshman guys, but he had a couple of nice chunk plays, a couple of nice chunk runs at IFC. You can tell the guy's got a real burst of speed, some acceleration. I think he's going to be a real threat if they can get him on the field. If he can work his way and figure out the offense, figure out pass protection and things like that. Trip Wilcher, this guy can absolutely fly. He's a game breaker. Getting him on the field, hopefully this year, will be a key for them.
Thomas, here's your chance.
I have nothing to add about the roster this year, John. But I will say I did watch the press conference the other day, and the only ongoing complaint there is you can't hear any questions from the media. I don't know why our sports information department can't figure this out. This is elementary. Anyway, Coach Drayton was saying that they had 29 players last year that had never started before or played high school football. They had 16 true freshmen playing by week 7. So if you want to know why we were 0-11 last year, I mean, that's all. Those statistics are glaring. So I can tell you more about last year's roster than this year's roster. I'm looking forward to getting to know these guys a little better this year.
Andrew, anything you want to add to that?
No, again, Thomas is absolutely right. When you got 29 guys that either didn't play high school football or didn't start for their high school football teams, that's a telling statistic. And then the number of freshmen that they brought in as well. They transitioned from a pure triple option, run the ball down your throat kind of team to a team that's going to do a little bit more offensively. Some of that by necessity because of the blocking rules, the perimeter blocking rules, and if you talk to people at the military academies who've used this offense for years and years, they'll say the same thing. And I went back and talked to Brent Thompson about this again a little bit, and he said that was just a huge blow to the way that they like to play the game, the way they can play the game on the perimeter. And he's 100% right. So Citadel's going to have to get a little bit more creative with what they do, but again, it starts at quarterback. And this year they got somebody at quarterback who could make plays. And I think that's going to be, Jonathan Bennett, if you haven't heard him talk or haven't seen him, I mean, he's just, as I keep on saying, he is a full-grown man. He understands what's at stake, what's expected of him being the starting quarterback at the Citadel. And he's somebody who's going to embrace that role. I think Citadel fans will really, really like him. He's just a great kid.
And again, he is the Somerville native who played at Liberty and has come back to the Low Country. And he's one of these many transfer graduate student type players that are part of the roster. In my preliminary research before the show started, I counted up at least 7. There may be more than that are on the roster. These one and done type players. Does that sound about right to you there, Mr. Beat Writer?
Yeah, I thought it's between 7 and 10. I'm just trying to look at all the. I just do a quick thing in my head. That sounds about right. But remember now, a couple of these guys have been here for a second season. Pesnell is a wide receiver out of Campbell. Played here locally. I can't. I always get that confused if he played. No, he played at Goose Creek. So, one of the things that Coach Drayton has been able to do is kind of get these local kids who go into the transfer portal to come back here. And you get them for a year or two. But I know you guys don't like the non-cadets, but you're going to have to get over that because that's the way college, unless the Citadel drops down to Division II or Division III. They're going to have to continue to get these non-cadet transfers to come in and play in their various sports. Why? Do you want to? Okay, so let's talk about basketball, right? How many freshmen did Ed Conroy have on his roster this past year? 8 or 9, right? And of those 8 or 9, 7 of them left. So you want him to go out and get 7 more freshmen, and every year have to redo his roster? He'll never win. You cannot win.
Andrew, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Did we lose the VMI at all last year in basketball?
Yeah, I think we did.
Did they have non-cadets on that team?
I have no idea. Did they? I think yeah.
They
So
did.
okay. So
this is So I counted before the show 20, and sorry to jump in here. I
Yeah.
counted 20 graduate students, I believe, that are on the current football roster.
Right.
Now,
But
not,
some
not
might be
necessarily all
cadets
of
that
those are
graduate.
non-cadets. Some of them could have graduated, in the Corps cadets and then on to graduate school. I don't know.
Right.
We're still talking about if you look at the number of folks we have on the roster and the number of graduate students, it's a very small percentage.
Right.
And you're never going to, it's not like the Citadel's going to have some big NIL fund, to draw in non-cadets. So, even though we like to, I guess, fuss about it, it's us older guys, we're old curmudgeons. The percentage is small. Now, where it's glaring, like you just mentioned, is basketball. It is a little troubling to me that a guy that played basketball as a cadet, there at the Citadel seems to be pushing the easy button. And like you said, I understand the very real concern about having to replace 7 freshmen every year because they can't hack it in the Corps cadets, and they don't have to. They can go where else, elsewhere and play. But I do think we have a sister school in Virginia, which I'll be up there come October to watch our football team play. But they've done pretty well, I think, with all cadets. I don't know why they seem to be able to do it, and we can't.
Well, it's a good thing I'm writing a story about the Citadel at in the coming weeks. I'm going to write a story because I think that the Citadel athletic department is at a crossroads now, and either they're going to not embrace, but take advantage of the current state of college athletics, and with the transfer portal, the genie is out of the bottle, and it's like when you went to school, guys, were there graduates and transfers on your athletic teams?
Yes, on basketball,
Yeah.
there was a handful. Most
Yes,
of
there
them were
were.
veteran
There were,
students
definitely.
coming back.
So I talked to General Walters the other day, and he went to the Citadel in the 70s, I believe, if that's correct.
Yes.
Yeah, because I went from 82, I'm 82 to 86. So yeah, he was there before me. And he said this notion of the old school Citadel alumni thinking that only cadets played athletics is nonsensical, because when he was going there were, as he pointed out, several, and he made a couple of instances of specific guys who had played both football or basketball, that there were non-cadet graduate students on those teams. And he remembers vividly this one guy having hair flowing out of the back of his helmet. So he said, people who think that there weren't guys like that playing for the Citadel back in the day just don't remember it. And
You're probably right, Andrew. And I think sometimes we would make a bigger deal out of it than it actually is. That's why I wanted to mention the small percentage,
Yeah.
of folks that actually contribute, that are non-cadets, because we have a certain percentage of our alumni base. All they ever do is complain. They get on social media and complain about everything associated with our school and with the program. I want to ask them, why did you even go there?
Right.
Then we have the, John and I like to talk about it. We like to give you a hard time about it. But I think at the end of the day, I think most of us are proud of someone that comes and represents us well, and has the Citadel on the front of their jersey. So I really do believe that it's a different story if you start talking about 20, 30, 40% of your football team being non-cadets. Then you don't really have that connection with the Corps. But I don't think we'll ever see that. I really don't. Now, you mentioned, are we at a crossroads? If we want to continue to compete at this level with the Woffords and the Furmans, how do we do that? And I don't know the answer. I will say this. I have posted, I hate to do this, but I posted on Citadel-related boards previously that if you want to absolutely lose your fan support, it's not going 0-11. It's dropping down to Division II.
Yeah.
Okay? We do not want to be Newberry College. I'm sorry. We have to me, we have a proud history and traditions. There's no way you're going to get majority of our alumni to support that.
Yeah, 100% agree. 100% agree.
And Andrew, you've been threatening this. When can we? You said you're working on it. When is the projected release of your Crossroads story?
That I'm hoping that I can finish the story, and it's about right now it's looking to be around 2,000 words, which to the average viewer is like, let's see, how many is that? That's probably about a 75-inch story, and a normal story is around 15 to 20 inches. So it's a 90, 100-inch story is a lot of work. So I'm hoping to finish it by end of business on Friday. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get there because I haven't gotten the budgets, the athletic department budgets for the last 5 years, and that's part of the story. Because my understanding and the reporting that I've done is that they've been operating, the athletic department's been operating at a million five plus budget deficit each year for the last 5 years. That's what I've been told. But again, trying to get those final budget figures for me. But yeah, so it'll be in the next couple of weeks, I'm hoping. And when it does, trust me, I will let you guys know when there's a target date on it, because I talked to a bunch of people in the Alumni Association, former players, for coaches. Everyone has kind of a different idea and a different opinion on what the Citadel should do next. And I am curious to see what happens next with the Citadel, because you're right. There's a large base that's not happy with the way things are going, and they're not happy with the non-cadets that are playing for the teams. And I'm just wondering where the administration and where the athletic department is going to go from here. It will be fascinating to see.
Well, John and Andrew, I wonder at what percentage of those that complain the loudest contribute 1 penny to the Brigadier Foundation.
Yeah, exactly. Just like in politics, it's like the fringe. Those outside 10% of the people on either side of the political spectrum make the most noise, but they don't account for even a majority of the people. I mean, they talk so loud. You think that everyone thinks that way, no matter what side of the political spectrum that you're on. And the same I think is with sometimes the Citadel alumni and athletic supporters.
Well, Andrew, I know it's going to be tough, but I do see some empty space behind you on those walls. And so when you turn that story in, this
Yep.
unbelievable investigative story in, I do see a Pulitzer Prize coming your way. You'll have to clear up a little spot for it.
I'm hoping so. Yeah, it's been a really interesting. Uh, for me, I like doing the deep dives. I like looking and analyzing data as far as athletic budgets, because I'm just fascinated to see where people spend money, how they spend the money, what are the priorities. There's been talk this year that there's going to be scholarship cuts, that there were scholarship cuts to the teams, and that I haven't been able to confirm that because again I haven't seen the budgets. So there are things that are happening that are going to be really tough for the coaches in the three major sports: basketball, football, and baseball. To overcome, because of just financial restrictions that they've been kind of forced to adhere to, and it's not just the program. It wasn't it wasn't the coach's fault that this happened. Part of it was the decline in enrollment during COVID and having two small COVID classes, and part of it has been the operating budgets, and it just costs more to feed and clothe and house the athletes at the Citadel. So it's like going on a trip to Georgia Southern might have cost whatever $100,000 5 years ago. Well, now it costs 200 grand, and that's when you're operating on a budget that the Citadel has, which is around $14 million. 100 grand doesn't sound like a lot, but for one trip, that's a huge amount of money. And then where are you going to make up the cost for that? So yeah.
Andrew, have you heard anything about the stadium project, the East Stands?
Yes, I talked to the general about that. They have about $2 to $3 million in hand, but unfortunately, you cannot start the project now unless you have all. They need $5 million to make this to redo the East Stands, and unless you have it in hand, that money for that particular project, they won't start the permitting process, so they won't start construction, they won't start anything. So the general was telling me they have a 97% rate on pledges, which is really high and really good. It speaks well of the Citadel alumni who do give money to the school. But the pledges plus the money they have in hand, they've got over $5 million combined between the money they have in hand and the pledges that they have, right? But it's just they don't have all that $5 million, so they're not going to start the permitting process until they get that. So, but they're hoping they can start that by the end of the season.
Oh, that's great. Well, if anybody can get it done, it's a Marine General.
Yes, sir. Airborne. Welcome again to all of you who are tuning in. This is Citadel GrayLine. We are going to talk about that Bulldog defense. We don't want to leave them out of the picture as we get ready for the opener against the Charleston Southern Buccaneers. We'll have that and also get more detail of the 4 projected wins that Andrew claims the Dogs are going to get, according to his knowledge of this program. The Citadel and Coach Drayton, they're trying to do it the right way. And, there's a company in South Carolina that's been doing it the right way for 38 years. And that company just happens to be a brand new sponsor of our program. We want to welcome aboard Hood Construction. Hood is a full-service construction management company with offices and work in South Carolina, North Carolina, and Georgia. They take a holistic approach to their clients' business and project objectives in order to find the best value solutions. And we encourage you to go to their website, hoodconstruction.com, and learn how to build it the right way with this South Carolina-based company that you can see them with projects all over the state. They have a great team. They have opportunities for employment. You can go to hoodconstruction.com and learn more about, again, this South Carolina-based company with Citadel connections, by the way. Hood Construction, a new partner here on Citadel GrayLine. And you're kind of a pro-Hood kind of guy, aren't you, Thomas Scruggs?
Yeah, I'm definitely on Team Hood.
You are on Team Hood. And, give us an idea of the kind of work Hood Construction does as far as you know.
Well, goodness, we do everything. It's mostly, I'm working on a church. We do schools, commercial, retail. I mean, you name it, John. Pretty much. We don't do residential. We don't do multifamily. We do a lot of healthcare. Dominion Energy is one of our big clients as well. Matter of fact, I will be spending a lot of time in Charleston over the next year and a half. We're going to be renovating the Student Life Center there, right in the heart of the campus. So I'll get to come visit Andrew for a couple days a week.
Yeah. And Thomas, can we officially announce here today that you are not only a Citadel GrayLine co-host, but you do also work with Hood Construction?
Absolutely. Yes. Definitely on the Hood team. We've got some strong Citadel connections here. The owner of our company, Mark, attended the Citadel civil engineering major. His son, Austin, was in the running for regimental commander. So we've got him. I've got another PM, a couple guys out in the field. So we're trying to give those Clemson guys a run for their money. They're a lot bigger than us, but we hold our own.
Well, let's not pick on Clemson too much, only because they are on the schedule here this year. We don't want them to have their feelings hurt about what Citadel GrayLine has to say. Now, let's move over to defense. Andrew, where do we stand there? What is the state of the defense?
Yeah, I think they will be better than they were last year. A lot of it will, one of the things that Maurice Drayton talks about is complementary football. One of the keys for the Citadel will be obviously maintaining possession of the ball, obviously scoring points, which they definitely struggled with last year, and not making the defense play so much. And I think that the offense will be better, and I think that will make the defense better. And again, I briefly touched on the depth that Coach Drayton believes that they have along the defensive front. He thinks they are too deep there. They're legitimately too deep there. There's not much of a drop off there. They got some veteran linebackers. Thomas Wyatt is coming back after having a really good year last year, I thought. And then the secondary, which was very young a year ago, the Bradley Joneses of the world, he's grown up. They got a kid now starting in the secondary named Will Pickering, who is a transfer from a Division III school. He went to Wando High School, so again, a local kid that Maurice Drayton has been able to tap. And he said at the press conference that he's going to be a starter for him, and he's a guy who's played a lot of football. Yeah, at the Division III level, but led his team in tackles last year. So a guy who likes to be around the football, and they're going to be a much more veteran team this year than they were a year ago. And by veteran, I mean they'll have a lot more snaps under their belt than the guys who played, especially at the end of last year, who were. It appeared to me they had probably 4 or 5 freshmen playing a lot of football on the defensive side of the ball a year ago. And the biggest jump that, and I've talked to a bunch of coaches about this too, that freshmen make from their freshman to sophomore year, especially at the Citadel when they get out of that knob year, is huge. And you can just see some of the guys who were freshmen last year who are just more mature, just bigger, stronger guys than they were a year ago. And if you notice in last year's press conference, what the first thing Mo said was, we stink. I mean, he said at the first press conference, and I was amazed that when he said that. And the optimism from him from last year to this year is, again, night and day, 180-degree turnaround. He just feels like they got more talent and they got a deeper, more talent. And those are the two things that you want to have.
All right, we're looking for a definite improvement there. Now, I don't remember this happening. We didn't have any personnel changes as far as coaches during this offseason, did we?
One guy left, and his name escapes me. I hate getting old. I turned 60 last week, so my memory isn't what it should be. But they had only one coach leave, and then Joe Call, who was kind of the director of operations, for lack of a better word. That might have actually been his title. He has, the former quarterback at the Citadel, graduate. He has. His wife got a great job at MUSC. She's a doctor or a surgeon of some kind. So he's actually going to be a stay-at-home dad now.
Okay.
So congratulations for Joe on making that, getting a promotion there. But other than that, no, everyone kind of stayed. And after an 0-11 season, only have one coach leave, and he wasn't fired or anything. He just left, I think, for a little bit bigger job. That's amazing. That just shows you the kind of really the coaches that are with Coach Drayton, they believe in him, and they believe in his system. And again, the energy around this team is drastically different than it was last year.
Good. Well, we're excited about that. Anything else on this roster we need to get to before we move on to other things, Andrew?
No, I think we're good.
All right. I will say, love the blue and white. Going to be pulling for them. But, guys, I got another team that I'm going to have to be watching a little bit more this football season. They are the opposite of what we call the graduate student effect. This is a Citadel guy going off doing great things at the FBS level. And get your season tickets ready. Thomas, I'm going to be pulling for the Irish this year.
That's just disgusting. Sorry, I can't even talk to you.
You talking about Riley Leonard?
What's that?
I said, are you referring to Riley Leonard? That's why you're going to be a fan?
I'm not aware of Riley Leonard, but I am aware of Eric Goins, the hero of the South Carolina game 2015, who's gone off and served in the Army, and he's now on the Notre Dame football roster. And if that neat connection with Notre Dame football is not enough, they also have another kicker on their roster, Mitch Jeter, who played for the Fighting Gamecocks. So a little Gamecock battle going on in South Bend for kicker. But yeah, that's an interesting thing to keep up with this season.
Well,
John in Mississippi is going to be pulling for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. There you go.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say Riley Leonard is the son of Chad Leonard, who played basketball at the Citadel for Coach Dennis.
I had forgotten that.
Yeah. I thought that was why, because he's going to be the starting quarterback for Notre Dame.
He's the one, wasn't he at Wake Forest?
He was at Duke.
Duke, that's right.
Yep.
Duke, Wake Forest. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, I remember he beat Clemson last year.
Indeed.
And so now he's at Notre Dame. All right. Well, there's a great story. Eric Goins, again, played on that 2015 football team that won the Southern Conference. He graduated from the Citadel. He went on to serve in the United States Army and had a stellar career. I believe he's either a captain, maybe a major in the United States Army right now, but he's gone back, believe it or not, to Notre Dame and working on his graduate work. And he is a guy that's getting a chance to be a Notre Dame kicker. He's a 2016 Citadel alumnus. So keep that in mind. Eric Goins, we wish you the best of luck and love our guys who were part of those 2015 and 2016 Bulldog football programs. Other news going on, guys?
Andrew?
Well, I was going to say the next week the Citadel volleyball team will travel to Nebraska to take on the Nebraska Cornhuskers, who have, I think, the largest following of volleyball. They had a outside volleyball match in their football stadium, and I think they had like 75,000 people at it. So they're
Wow.
going next week. Nebraska played for the national championship, lost to Texas in the finals last year, but the Citadel volleyball team's going to play them, which is kind of a cool little story, I think.
Yeah, wasn't it
John, we
Nebraska that had the stadium with like 100,000 people or something, or was that Iowa? Or
No, that was Nebraska. They had a volleyball match outside, and I can't remember. I want to say might have been Texas. I can't remember who they played against, but it was outside, and they had they had 70, 80,000 people in the stands for a volleyball match. That's incredible. So, but they won't be the Citadel will not be playing outside. They'll be playing inside their normal Nebraska's normal arena. So, but still, pretty cool opportunity to go against one of the top programs in the country next week.
that's right. And again, a great season last year, a historic season with the way they
Yep.
started, and perhaps they can have an equal season this year. Ed Conroy, I noticed over the summer he got busy doing podcasts. He's giving the Citadel GrayLine a run for the money. What do we know about what Conroy's doing and his basketball team with a lot of new faces?
Yeah, they got a lot of new faces, and some guys from the Division III level. They brought in some freshmen. He's excited about the way the team looks, but again, having to rebuild every single year, that's just tough to build kind of that continuity in the program. And it just does seem like that the basketball transfer portal is very active every single year. The interesting thing that they came, I don't know if you guys saw this today, but the college football coaches or the NCAA, I don't know who it was, but they've gotten together. They're only going to have, as of right now, one transfer portal, and that will be a transfer period. That will be in December. That'll run 30 days, and they're doing away with the spring transfer portal. Although you can still transfer if your coach leaves or you can get a waiver. So it just did. So, but they're doing away with the spring transfer portal, which is interesting, and I'll be interested to see what college basketball does, and if they get down to maybe just one calendar transfer period.
All right. Also, we have a new face on the Citadel campus, a guy whose name was already sort of on campus, Triplet, meaning the Triplet practice facility for football. But Russell Triplet brought in as the new baseball coach at El Cid. He was the former head coach at Newberry College and now comes down I-26, a guy who played collegiately for the Clemson Tigers. What do we know about Russell Triplet, Andrew?
Well, very successful at Newberry at the Division II level. Stepping up in competition, as we would say. Has had a pretty good track record of winning there. It'll be interesting to see again how that translates to the Citadel, and can they get the kind of guys in that they need. Sorry to see Tony Skoll go. I mean, the guy was a tremendous representative of the Citadel, I thought, as a player and as a coach. You're not going to find a better person than he is, but he'd be the first to admit it. He just didn't win here enough, and that was too bad because you're not going to find a better human being than Tony Skoll. So I think Coach Triplet's going to do a good job. I think you're going to see a little bit more, I don't know, intensity, if that's the right word. Just, I haven't seen him practice yet, but certainly seems like he's a no-nonsense kind of coach who's going to make these guys accountable. So looking forward to the Citadel kind of maybe taking a step forward with that program as well.
And we will certainly reach out and try to get him on as well as Coach Conroy as guest. In fact, look, let me remind you, you can text us here 24/7 at Citadel GrayLine. 843-779-8496 is the way to do that. And if you have a recommendation for a guest, we would love to make your dreams come true. And we've got a nice little list, our dream list of people we would like to talk to, and certainly anybody, whether they played Bulldog sports or they're just a person who went to school and wear the ring, or if they have some connection to the Citadel, we're all about it here at Citadel GrayLine as we have our Band of Gold spotlights on most of our shows, and we just do our part. Now, again, our 17th year launching today of this program, powered in part by IPS Packaging and Automation. ipack.com is the website for them. And again, thank you to Hood Construction for coming aboard as we kind of start closing things out here on our inaugural show of the 2024 campaign of Citadel football. Thomas, what are you expecting when the Dogs lace it up and toe meets leather on Saturday night in Ladson?
It's hard to know, John, with so many transfers coming in for Charleston Southern. Maurice did talk about that, but we also got to witness a team full of transfers lose in Dublin, Ireland last Saturday to Georgia Tech. So, that doesn't really scare me. We've had our series with Charleston Southern. I think overall, we got 7 wins to their 6 overall. I know they vacated some wins, and people made a big deal about that. But the bottom line is they have had our number. But I kind of agree with Andrew. I think we come out of the first 3 games 2-1 with a lot of confidence. I see 4 or 5 wins on the schedule. If Coach Drayton, with his confidence with his guys coming back. So obviously, you got Clemson to finish out the year. So I really don't count Clemson, as a win. But without that Clemson game, 4-7 is a vast improvement over last year.
And your 4 wins, sir, would be?
My 4 wins would be South Carolina State, North Greenville, East Tennessee State, VMI, and I believe we're going to get 1 of 2, either from Sanford or Chattanooga at the end of the year.
That's almost 5 wins.
That's why I said.
Not 4.5. Andrew, how does that shape up with what your projection is?
Yeah, I think they come out 2-1 in the first 3 games, and however that, whichever teams they beat, I think they've got a pretty good chance against Charleston Southern. But again, don't know first game. Let's see how that goes. But I think they go 2-1 out of those first 3, and then I like them against Wofford, and I like them also against VMI to win those 2 games as well.
Now, has SC State had a coaching change?
Yes, they have. They brought in the guy from Benedict, who that's their Division II program up in Columbia. Mm-hmm. They went 22-2 the last 2 seasons there. Had an undefeated season last year in the regular season. Lost in the first round of the playoffs. So, he's gonna. Chenis Berry is his name, and I hope I'm pronouncing that first name correctly. But yeah, he's had a lot of success at the Division II level. They got handled pretty well up there, but that was again when Dustin Fletcher went down early in that game with a concussion that kept him out basically the rest of the season. I think they can probably win that game. Hey, they beat Charleston Southern. I think they can go 3-0 in their first 3 games. Yes. Obviously, that's the start of it. But again, I like them against VMI. I like them against Wofford. I thought 2 games they could have won last year. Had way too many turnovers. I think 4 turnovers against Wofford. Or was that VMI? I can't remember which one it was. But a bunch of turnovers. They cleaned that up, and that's a different game.
And that North Greenville game, I want to remind folks that that game in Charleston will be against their longtime head coach. The Crusaders are guided by a 1982 Citadel alumnus in Jeff Farrington. So a homecoming of sort for him. And I know back in the 2016 season, the Citadel was supposed to have North Greenville play in Charleston, but a hurricane forced that game to actually be played on the North Greenville campus. So a very short history with these programs, but a nice connection for that 3rd game of the season. But right now, all eyes are on the Charleston Southern University campus as the CSU Bucks welcome in the in-state rival, if you will, the Citadel Bulldogs. It's the Low Country Boyle Bowl. Say that 5 times fast. Going on this weekend. They need talk about a bowl that needs corporate sponsorship. You'd think one of those seasoning companies out of Louisiana would be all over this particular bowl game. But yes, it's the Low Country Boyle Bowl between CSU and the Citadel, and we'll have all of the breakdown of this game when we reunite for our 2nd broadcast of the year coming up. Let's see, we'll have that broadcast coming up on next week when we get together. I'm trying to recall all. We got it's been so good to be back with you here today because we were off for nearly a year, and we're getting our heart going again. We're pumped for another year of Citadel Sports. So again, thank you for your joining us here today. The Nom Knowledge answer was back in 2002. That was the, let me double check here. 2002, the Citadel played Charleston Southern the very first time between these programs, a 53-19 drubbing of the Citadel over CSU, and that was a great way to get this in-county series going. And unfortunately, CSU's had their fair share of victories since that 2002 appearance. Overall, this series, I think the Citadel only has a 7-6 edge, and we don't want to see that thing get evened up here this weekend when they get together north of North Charleston. Guys, thank you very much for coming on. We look forward to seeing you all right here next week when we reassemble for week 2 and get you ready for the home opener against the against the SC State Bulldogs coming to Charleston. And I think that might be the first time they've ever actually played a game at Johnson A. Good, because the other games got postponed or moved back to Williams-Brice Stadium in the years past. We'll break all that down next week when we get together. Again, thank you to Thomas, thank you to Andrew, and thank you for tuning in. Citadel GrayLine, a production of CRM Sports. We will see you back here.